So I'll tell you what we're going to do. Jules, if it's all right, we're going to hand over to you. Let's begin. Right. Jules, over to you.
Okay, I'm just no slides today. I am literally going to just talk through why I started posting on TikTok, what that journey's been like, and then go through just a bit of like some do's and don'ts if you want to start trying posting on TikTok, and how to grow your audience on there as well. Hi, I'm Jules. If you've not met me yet, I'm a brand designer, branding by Jules, but I've also now got a second business accidentally because I started posting on TikTok called Designer in Your Pocket, and it exclusively talks about Canva tips, Canva creation, and how to design your own content even if you're not a designer. And I think the biggest question I kind of get when people find out I have TikTok is, oh, that my audience isn't there, or now it's just for teenagers, or isn't it just that dancing app? And it absolutely is not. I have never yet done a dance on TikTok, and I never ever will. I put my tap dancing shoes away quite a while ago and retired them. And it's as always happens with social media, things are moving fast. And TikTok is the #1 area where you can actually get growth without having a large audience yourself. Whether you have the potential to go viral, whether you have 50 followers or if you've got 50,000 followers. And I think that's what I actually love about TikTok. And I started using it during near the end of lockdown. Actually, I realized I was starting to use Canva more with my brand clients, because they were getting their beautiful new brands done, and then they were frightened to go off and start creating content, or frightened to create content. And one of them said to me, can you please, I'll give you my login details, please can you go in and just create some templates for me so that I've got a sounding base like to go to start off from. And when I went into Canva and I started to create the content, I found it really frustrating, and I found it quite difficult to find my way around and navigate and figure out how to do stuff. And I thought, if I'm a designer and I'm finding this challenging, then for the normal person who's not got like, or they don't think they're creative, and actually I believe all people are, I'm going to start posting some simple tips to like help get people started. And I'd kind of started to kind of like look at TikTok myself and found myself getting sucked down this tunnel, and like I'd lose an hour and not even realize that I'd been on it. Like, right, if I'm going to watch things on TikTok, I'm going to create first, then I'll feel like I've earned a right to have a kind of browse. And much to my teenage son's like embarrassment and humiliation when he realized I was posting TikToks, they started to take off. Now, the first few, there was literally 200-300 views, and then it would stop. But then very quickly it'd go to a kind of couple of thousand, and then I literally had one video. And it was the simplest tip that I filmed off the cuff, walking through my house with the dogs kind of like barking in the background. And it was just like a very simple 5-second tip. And then I think I put the phone down, I went for a nap, woke up from a nap, and I had all these notifications like of likes for TikTok. So I opened it up and there was like 10,000 like likes. I was like, how the hell did that happen? And also like my follow numbers, as I'm on the app, I could literally see the followers like notifications coming in. They were coming in per second. And it gets addictive once you get that first hit of that big like jump, and you're thinking, what else can I create? So my following has jumped from like just having 50 to 100 followers to now over 150,000. And they've kind of came in quite quick increments. That first video got me up to 30,000. Then I kind of hung around there for a while, and a couple of months later it jumped up to 60,000. And then I had one video go really viral. And that got me 60,000 followers in a couple of weeks. So it jumped up to like 120. And it just showed me the power of organic growth. But whereas Instagram, I'm sitting at like 1,700 followers, and I'm putting the same effort in Instagram that I'm putting into TikTok. So it just shows you, and the biggest difference is every single video you create on TikTok goes to the For You page first. Doesn't go to your followers. So even though I have all those followers, they're not the people who see my content the most. If I look at my analytics, about less than 10%, sometimes less than 5% of my followers actually see my content. It goes to the For You page. And if it does well, then it starts to kind of like gain traction in the algorithm. Whereas with Instagram, it's your own followers who see your posts first. And if they don't interact with it, then it dies away. It just disappears into the mist. So TikTok is that place where you actually get new people looking at your content every day, and nowhere else can give you that visibility. And what I very quickly realized is once you start getting a bit of traction on TikTok, yes, people find you there and you're visible, but they then search you out on other platforms. They then go and find you on Instagram and give you a follow there. They then go and find you on YouTube if you have a YouTube channel, follow you there. Or they sign up to your email list and then you have them. And how you've then got them an engaged audience, which you can then grow. And some stats for you, like 35% of TikTok users are over 35. It is not just an app for young ones. Yep. And we are the fastest growing audience on TikTok. So a bit as Facebook, how eventually, how the Gen X's and everything took over, how Facebook, then it started happening with Instagram. It's now starting to happen with TikTok as well. And what you'll find is they're not just on TikTok. So they're also on Facebook. 83% of them have a Facebook account. 81% have an Instagram account. 77% have a YouTube account. So TikTok is your place where you first want people to find you, then you want to tunnel them into the other platforms that you maybe use more fully. And also it's a really addictive app. So 29% of people are on it every single day. And on average, they spend an hour and a half on the app. That is me as well. I am so guilty for doing that. And it is my number one way to relax at night before I go to sleep, which is awful. I know, and we shouldn't, but I do it. My husband, when introduced into the app, actually came home one day and he went, I need to delete this off my phone because all I am doing is like going on TikTok. So you have a really engaged audience there to grab, whereas people become quite disengaged with the content they see on Instagram and things. You have a really like engaged audience. It's also used primarily for either entertainment or education. So people are going on there because they want to just have a bit of fun and they find it a really happy app to be on and they like the content on there, or they are actively looking to be educated in something, which is I think why my content kind of really took off, because it's short digestible tips they can really take off on. So then I just have you smiling, sorry. So then
sorry, Jules. I was looking at my usage and my top one is TikTok.
Yeah, and it's mine as well. It's the app I open up first. It's the app I spend the longest on. It's the app I'm starting to go to find other people on as well. And there is really engaged communities, and there's a community for everything. So you have things like Book Talk. There are authors who have been like indie authors, self-published authors who have went worldwide and sold thousands of books because of gained traction by reading parts of their books on TikTok, or other people recommending their book on TikTok. You've got Canva Talk, you've got Money Talk. That's a huge one. People talking about mortgages and financial advice and divorce advice and all those kind of things that now are difficult to get information on. There's a whole community on there. Small Business Talk is a huge one, and Movie Talk. So you've got like, if you have a niche, if your business has a niche, I can guarantee you there'll be an audience on TikTok for you. And Gen Z are now using TikTok as their search engine. They're not going to Google. Now they're digressing away from Google and they're going to TikTok. Now I'm using it as an SEO tool to find out what they want to do, whether it's a place to go, a place to eat, if they're going on holiday in a new location, or they are looking for a fact or a tip, they are going to TikTok to find it. And this is a shift we have to understand as business owners. Where are people going to get information? where are we putting our information? So this is why it's such a useful strategy to include now in your marketing content. And people love to spend money on TikTok. I don't know if you've ever seen the hashtag TikTok made me buy it. I have even said it like to my daughter. I went through and I went, so TikTok made me buy this, and it's a makeup, it's a lipstick that I am starting to see everywhere. I've bought the hair rollers that you tie in your hair at night for the heatless rollers. TikTok made me buy that. And that's had over 31 billion lifetime views. And it's now became like just part of conversation. Like if you are like talking to your friends and family, you go, yeah, TikTok made me buy that. It's a huge thing. So this is just like some of the ways it's now getting used. And it worked for me because I really niched down. I really niched down. And I think the mistake people make sometimes if they are struggling to get views on their TikTok is they are trying too many different pieces of content. There's lots I could talk about. I specifically don't talk about anything to do with my branding business. It's a whole separate account that I've got a TikTok for, but I don't tend to post as much because my concentration is on Canva. But this is literally just Canva tips. The minute I have done anything slightly different on that channel, on that profile, it just doesn't do well, because people follow you because they want to see more of the content that you have created specifically, and they'll sometimes commenting on your videos. So I stay on Canva Talk is a really common thing somebody says. So then I think, right, okay, that's my focus. It's just about Canva. And I also keep it simple. Like I just do a quick tip, or I do a time lapse of a design. And the good thing when you do a time lapse is you get loads of people complaining that it's too fast. Like the video I put on YouTube, I purposely did that as a time lapse to begin with because time lapses work well on TikTok. And I know I get engagement from it, and I know I get people commenting saying it's too fast, please do another one slower. So then I do another one slower and I say, if you want to see my step-by-step tutorial, go to my YouTube. And then it drives traffic. It gives me more content and it drives traffic to my YouTube. So that's what I quite like about doing that. The opportunities by using TikTok has made for my business is one, the visibility it's given me. It's grown my audience, but it's also grown my audience on different platforms. YouTube, I didn't actually even have as part of my content strategy until I saw when I got huge traction on my TikTok videos, people were starting to go and follow my YouTube, even though I'd only really done shorts on there. So then I thought, right, I need to adjust what I'm doing and start to do long form content because people are going looking for that from me. People have joined my template membership. I've also had converted to clients for brand work, which was a totally unexpected thing because people do a deep dive on you. They have found me on Instagram, Design Your Pocket, then realised I also have branded my jewels, went to that profile and then sent me an email inquiry to brand them. So I've had clients in America. I'm working with a client in Australia just now. I had a couple of clients in Australia last year because my content is worldwide, so I'm gaining worldwide clients from it. Biggest thing was Canva took notice. Canva saw my posts. Canva started to follow me, comment on them. They invited me to Australia in March to go to Canva Create, and through that, a couple of months later, they then invited me to become one of their Canva Verified Expert program, and there's only 48 currently worldwide. I now get inside knowledge on the latest new features that MailerLite that are bringing in now, and integrations and new apps. I get to try them out. I get to feed back to the teams. I also got to go to London with them in May and done a 3-day workshops with them because they'd opened a new office. This is something that I would never have got to do if I hadn't started to post on TikTok. And now I have just signed a contract with Canva to do a series of workshops for them in partnership with them for between now and next March, which I would never have got to do as well. I've had brand collaborations and been paid to sponsor some posts. Most are a pile of rubbish, and I've chucked them in the bin. But there was a couple that came through. I thought, yeah, and they've maybe got apps within Canva, so they've reached out to me and asked me to promote and got paid to do that. So again, that's another income stream. And then invited to do talks like this, and I've done several now, either talking about Canva or I'm talking about TikTok. Ironically, because the audience is grew on TikTok. So this is like, again, new opportunities for visibility for me and my business. And I think the biggest thing now, that the mistake people make, is they repurpose their content from Instagram Reels to TikTok. And that doesn't work because it's a completely different audience. Instagram is much more curated, it's much more polished, it's much more aesthetically pleasing. Those beautiful, like, day in the life reels, and they're beautifully shot and edited. They don't do well on TikTok. People like you rough and ready. People like you looking a bit messed up, and I've said before, I would not go on Instagram in my jammies with my hair up in a bun, but I have on TikTok. And I feel weirdly like I can, and this is ironic for being a brand designer who's all about aesthetic and looks and things. I find it quite refreshing that I can just be myself on TikTok and not have to have that polished edge. And ironically, people then feeling more approachable and accessible because I am a bit more real on there. And it's like understanding the difference. Like I do absolutely repurpose content, but I might just edit it slightly differently than I do on TikTok or Instagram. And TikTok as well, you can film up to 10 minutes now as well. So I think Instagram are going to introduce a longer video. I think 1.5 is the longest you can do. TikTok introduced like the 3-minute video first, which took a while to gain traction but works really well. And an interesting thing they're doing is when you join their creator program, they've recently just updated it, and now they're only rewarding you if your videos are over a minute in length. So like the short 7, 10, 15-second videos, they're no longer going to give you any money for. They have to be over a minute, but the value is more now. Because, and I'll be open, transparent, I was in the original creator program, and for all the views I've had my videos, one being over 7 million, the largest amount of money when I changed over was £98. £98 is all I earned in the creator program. So I think they're kind of updating it to kind of make it a bit better. Discoverability, which I kind of spoke about, you literally are, every single video you do, you have to act it and film it as if the audience don't know you now, because it's going out to strangers every single time. And a bit like on Instagram, you almost talk to your followers like your friends, and you go hi again. People don't know who you are, so sometimes you kind of have to introduce who you are and stuff in the videos, and always assume it's a stranger that's going to view your video on TikTok first. Trends and challenges. Trends, TikTok sets them and Instagram follows like 3 months later. And a lot of the content I'll see like 3 months ago on TikTok, I'm now starting to see on Instagram. I would say if you're posting as your business, a lot of the trends are not going to be suitable, because one, a trend post might take off, but it's nothing to do with what your business is about. So you'll gather a whole load of followers who are expecting more trend content, and then you start talking about your business and they're not interested. So they'll just like switch off and your videos won't do so well. I always advise only tap into a trend if you can turn it into something that's relevant for your business, because then you'll still get followers who will engage with your other content. And people are often tempted by trends because it's quite a quick way to grow your account, but it's not often the strategic way to grow your account. And they're also, the TikTok and Instagram, TikTok is much, much better at having different editing effects and sounds and music. They're just far more advanced than TikTok Reels are. And it's just, one word of warning though is TikTok doesn't like it when you try to promote and sell. That's not the aim that it's all about. So you'll find I once posted in the very beginning a post about a new freebie that I'd designed. I think it was free templates that I've got. And I got a warning, they removed it. And I'm like, oh, what have I done? So I think if you say things like, now get this free, or now even link in bio, they don't really like you saying link in bio. I don't know if you've ever noticed people going, you know where to go in the usual place, you'll find my thing there, because they know that their videos got flagged now for like spam content before. So it's something you have to be really careful of if you do want to do a promotional post, that you word it in such a way that's not coming across as get my product now kind of thing. So I tend not to even really mention the freebies and things that I have, because the views just go nowhere. And what I'd also say is, before you even start creating on TikTok, is get things organized first. The amount of creators I've saw that have a post has went viral and then they can't cope with the influx of inquiries they've got, or orders if it's a product-based business, because they're not expecting a post to go viral. And that's the thing, a post could go viral at any moment. So what I've done is I made sure when I started posting on TikTok and you could see getting some traction, I set up, made sure my website was up to date, and how the website had all of the services on it that I have, any links to any freebies that I've got, that my socials were connected, because you can connect your Instagram and your YouTube channels to your profile link, and you need to make it easy for people to get in touch with you. If you make it a bit difficult, then you lose that interest, that fleeting interest that they might have in your account. You've lost it. And also have something that you can get an email from them, because then you can funnel them into your email subscription and keep them engaged for longer. So these are things that you need to think about. Do I have that in place? And I know you have to get to like 1,000 followers to kind of get that link, but once you have that link, unless you have a business account, you get it straight away. But mine's is still a personal link. I haven't changed to a business link because I don't want to lose access to the good music. So you want to ask my question?
I didn't realize that you could get the link on a personal account when you went over 1,000 followers. I didn't know that. I didn't. Well, actually, I didn't know loads. You've told us, but that was that one in particular, because the bad music's terrible. You know,
it's awful, and sometimes that's the thing. Sometimes the music can just make that absolute difference with whether your post takes off or not. And it's figuring out like which music to use. And often, sometimes what I'll do is, even though I might be talking to camera, I'll still add music, but put it down to like 1 or 2%
we do
on that. So it's slightly in the background, but it doesn't like overtake my voice, but it just helps give my post a bit more traction, which is a kind of sneaky way people do it. So some do's and don'ts for you when you're creating content. So do's: start with impact, start with a hook. You literally, I don't know if you've ever noticed, you've been in the train or you're at the airport departure lounge and you literally see people go, that's all they do. And that's literally the amount of time you have to grab their attention. And if you have people start to go, and I'm terrible, I go in between every sentence. So sometimes what I do is I'll start talking, and then when I come to for a post, I'll literally go to the start and cut out all the dribble I've been talking at the beginning, and then just like get to the bit where I properly start talking about what I'm going to talk about, because people hate that space. And I don't know if you've heard of the millennial pause. Apparently we all do, and it's that bit where you set up your camera and you press record, but then you might go hi, and you start to talk. People don't cut out that gap now, so you have to trim that off your video. So you're literally starting your video from hi. Now you don't have that 2-3 seconds before it, because people have just scrolled while they're waiting for you to start talking. And it's that's I think my biggest challenge for me was figuring out how do I do engaging hooks to get people to watch or get them to click. That I've had some videos that really take off, and other ones I think are going to do really well don't, and it's because my hook at the start hasn't been strong enough or quick enough or engaging enough. So I might then, a couple weeks later, post it again but stick a different hook at the beginning. And if I'm rubbish at thinking of a hook as I'm talking, I might just put the hook as now type it in top, now above. So when people will read it before they listen to me speak, kind of thing. So that's another way you can do it. And so you keep it short and snappy. And all the ums and ahs, when I film, I film on my mobile, but I film all in one go. But I literally be say a sentence and stop, have a couple of gaps and restart this and do my next sentence so that I can then cut out the gaps. Because if I try and film the video all at once, then my eyes go up to the corner while I'm trying to remember what I wanted to say next, and I can feel there's those lapses. So I literally cut all those things out so people get a really short and snappy video. And don't be frightened of showing off your own personality. I think in the beginning as well, I relied on, it's super easy to do, like film my screen as I'm designing. But what happened when I started to kind of go face to camera or even do my voiceovers is I'd start to get people commenting on my accent. And I then realised, because I have quite a large American audience, Australian audience, that stood out to them. When they're constantly scrolling, they're hearing the same accent all the time. And because my accent was a bit different, then that made them pause and listen to me for longer. And then people would comment, oh, we could like listen to your accent all day. So that stood out that I wasn't expecting. And weirdly, my grey hair, people love my grey hair. So whereas I was worried about, oh, I'm a bit old for the app and different stuff, actually that's the thing that helped me stand out. I'm older, get grey hair, and I've got a Scottish accent. So then I realised that, I thought, right, embrace it and just like do more talking videos and stuff. And some of the kind of don'ts, like obviously I mentioned the kind of the long intros, the over promotion, trying to copy Instagram. It's not Instagram, and TikTokers don't want to be like Instagram. So you very visibly have to just adopt a much more simplistic style, if you like. The amount of times I have filmed on a dog walk, I film in my wee office and have with all my kind of stuff behind me. It doesn't have to have beautiful like backgrounds and stuff. Hashtags, that's a thing as well. Hashtags do help you find your audience and do include hashtags. Don't ever put the FYP hashtag for you. No, that does not help you get engagement. And another big difference is on Instagram, the hashtags are listed by number of times they've been used. Now that's so those large numbers. If you notice on TikTok, the numbers are huge. They have like 1 billion next to them and 600 billion. That's because it's numbered by number of views. So not the amount of times the hashtag's been used, but the amount of times a hashtag's been seen and viewed. So that's why they have such bigger numbers. And again, what I've found is by using the same hashtags, then I can absolutely dominate those ones. So if somebody does search by hashtags, and they do, a lot of my videos appear in Canva tips, for example. A lot of mine will appear in there. So you kind of want to use the same hashtags all the time to kind of target the audience you want to get to. There's a couple of other creators I want to tell you about that I love to follow and watch that I think you would like too. And one is Made with Mud, and she is based down south, down your way, and she's a part-time potter. And I came across her because her thing is she does a lot of lives as well, and she literally sets up and talks to you as she's working on her pottery wheel. And she had one video where she talked about, she designed a dignity mug, she called it. And I actually have one because I have arthritis in my hands, and I cannot tell you the struggle I have finding a mug that I can hold comfortably. And she designed one that has 2 handles. And I just love this now. And it was one of her customers asked her to design it because she they don't want to feel like they're not able to do the norm. And keep their dignity, which is why I just call it dignity, because they don't want to have a sippy cup style mug to drink their tea. And these are beautifully designed by her because they're her pottery mugs. And that took off for her, and then her orders took off, and now TikTok made a huge difference to her. One is the Mothership, and Mother is spelled M-U-T-H, and she's an American creator, a lady in her late 50s, and she does TikTok tips, and she's somebody who I watched a lot in the beginning of my TikTok journey to get tips off her and get the basics and understand how to do a lot of the techniques. Stylist Socials, and if you want, I'll put this up in the heartbeat afterwards so you can like get them. She's an Australian TikTok strategist, and just gives you an insanely amazing good tips. And one I like as well is a lady called Kate Waterfall Hill, and she's a leadership coach. But what she's done is she does skits, she does reenactments of like work scenarios where people have been bad leaders and experiences they've had, because ultimately she is selling leadership coaching, but she just doesn't want to tell you what she does. She does it in a really fun, engaging way. And she ended up being a client of mine, which was quite a funny moment when her email came in my inbox, because I thought, oh my God, I know her. I absolutely follow her and love her stuff. And when we got a chat on Zoom, and she was saying that TikTok has transformed her business when she started doing the skits, and her work has just like, people are now, the leads are coming in for her work.
So her views are all really high. Usually when you look at views, you've got a few thousand, and then you see the big ones. Yes. But actually, the vast majority of Kate Waterfall Hills are multiple thousands, which I found quite interesting. So
and that's a thing as well. People get put off. Like with mine, I have a huge variety in views, and it can make you quite kind of downhearted. But I kind of now know, do you know what? It's just going to take. It's just, and it's because it's literally going out to the For You page. It's going out to an audience who don't know you now, rather than your followers. With Kate's, what I tend to find is the content creators who are doing skits end up with a really brilliant, engaged audience who start to love their stuff. I'm going to put in the comments, there's a guy who does design agency skits, and I love him now, and he just comes across, it reminds me when I worked in my agency days, because they're so real. Again, I'll put him in the comments, and again, his views are always really high. And he's ended up getting amazing sponsorship deals and partner collaborations because of his skits content. And that's the thing, these are all different audiences. There's another one who she was a nursery teacher, and she's now left the profession, and she does nursery skits on like the realities of like being in a nursery, and she does different characters, and she now is a full-time content creator like on TikTok. And I think lastly, I'll just finish with, just get started. I think a lot of people are frightened to start and kind of find a way. My earliest videos are awful. I hate them, but they're still there. I didn't delete them, because that's another thing. Don't ever delete your video. If you're really unhappy with it, just make it private. Now shift it to just your followers can see it, but don't actually delete it. They don't really like it when you delete things. And just go on TikTok, type in whatever your niche is, what your business is in the search. See who the top posts are coming up from. Go in and have a bit of a delve around what content they create, which ones get the views, and start to just take down notes on, well, that's a possible idea I could talk about. I've got an actual situation that happened to me. I can do it in my way. Now, so as long as you can take inspiration, we all do it now, but it's just interpreting it in your own way. But if it works for them, then you know it'll work for your own audience too. So why break the mold? Now, it's what I did in the beginning. I went and typed in Canva tips and seen what people were doing, because I had no idea how to use TikTok. So it helped me get started. And then once I gained more confidence and I started to realize what I was comfortable creating, then it pushed me to start creating more. So yes, so I don't know, I think that's kind of like my kind of download, but if you've got questions, I'm happy to take some.
So many questions.
To be honest, that's why I was sat here quietly. I'm like, I don't know what to say, where to start.
one of the things I've taken from what you've said is we haven't been successful yet on TikTok
because we post about this.
Yeah, exactly that.
Yes.
We are very comfortable on Instagram as a platform. Again, not huge numbers by any means, but what resonated the most with me there is that we are very good at community building and the followers that we currently have and engaging our existing audience. We're not very good at the brand new, I have no idea who you are, as in the For You page. So for me, my first thought for us to have a chat about is that format. What do we actually need to do to kind of break into that new audience of people who don't know Yellow Tuxedo yet? And that's such a really tricky thing to, especially from a service base. And this is what I always struggle with in terms of finding that niche, is that you've really clearly found that with Canva. And I can imagine there are several avenues with the branding side that you could tap into if you decide to do a secondary profile. We're such generalists. It's about how you hone in on what that niche is and run with it. And
so I was sat here thinking, we're picking your brains, Jules, if we're being honest.
Fine.
So I'm sat here thinking that, like, we don't niche down to a market or a particular industry, specific industry. So, we kind of stop at small business currently and online visibility. And then it's like, well, hold on, we've got the podcast. So should the podcast have its own account, which we have been discussing? It probably should, but we haven't decided that. Then it's like the only thing I can get to is doing something on MailerLite, because I know MailerLite inside out. But then MailerLite's not that big. And do I really want to sell ultimately? Like with Canva, I'd rather sell Canva than MailerLite. I don't really want to do people's email marketing, and you can't sell templates per se. So it's just for us working out where it fits and that hook and everything else.
I think with you guys, because there's so many strings to your bow and skills that you guys have. And it's a way you have to link the community building, but what you could actually absolutely talk about is how to build a community. That's all you talk about on TikTok. Because that's something people find really difficult and they struggle with, but that can be your area of expertise. That's all you talk about on TikTok, but it still drives people that are then interested in you back to ultimately what you want. More people to know about your services, to like either come on board into your membership or work with you one-to-one. And that's what I had to think about, is how can the content I create, and it's such a simple entry level stuff that I do on TikTok, but it ultimately links back to what I do my day job. And I've got brand clients investing in my full brand service from just what I thought was completely unconnected with the TikTok tip, the Canva tips.
I'm curious, following on from that then,
Jane, we might let you speak at some point, all right? Currently, we're utilising this time.
Because I'm also very interested in your customer journey to get to that sales point. And do you ever...
This is the page you get.
Do you ever track your paying clients who may have started their journey with you on TikTok? How long have they been following you? Do they stay on TikTok and then get comfortable and then make that purchasing decision? Do you get them off platform if they're on your email? Do you know roughly how long they have to be warmed up with as a TikTok audience? Because we get that with our Instagram and our email marketing stuff.
So I think we should add for us, sorry to interrupt, Jules, but our audience has pretty much plateaued for 2 years. For 2 years, we've not particularly grown for a variety of reasons, which some obviously, it's us, to do with the customer journey. So you asked how long they were following for, and I know what was prompting that question. So I felt I should introduce that bit of info.
Interestingly, I'm the same. My Branding by Jules account has not grown in 18 months. It's sat at the same 100 followers, give or take, for the last 18 months. However, my Design in Your Pocket account is actively growing new followers every single day. And I think it's because it's something that people can take bite-sized information and feel they've gained some useful information from. The branding is a much longer term customer journey, and I think that's the thing with you guys. You have two different edges to the field. You either have people who it takes them a long time to get to know you, watch you, trust you, be in a place to invest themselves. Like I've had some brand clients that have watched me for 3 years before they're in a place themselves to invest in the branding, whereas with the Design Your Pocket, they very quickly convert either into a membership or booking on a course, and that's the thing as well. Like, since I started talking about doing the actual in-person workshops, it's not people who know me that are booking on. I'm finding a whole new audience, like locally, that are coming to me. I think out of all of them, I've done 3 workshops so far. I think 4 of them I've known previously. Other people, I'm meeting them brand new, but they like very quickly have jumped into, I trust you because you've got such huge visibility, then credibility, that I'm coming on. And TikTok, yes, they either come really quickly, grab the information they want and disappear, or I have some people who comment on every single video literally I put on, and then they've converted across to either join my Facebook group, which I've just started, or they've came into my Instagram and then they're DMing me. And I think with you guys, you've got 2 very different level of service offers. They're different audiences. So it's figuring out my TikTok, should I make that my focusing the low cost offer to build that, and then eventually it might then turn into a bigger client.
Can I join your free Facebook group, please?
Yes, you absolutely can.
I'm on it. I've sent it a request.
Are you? Tell us about your TikTok journey so far.
See, I could see Jane cleaning up on TikTok.
I think Jane is the perfect
like
TikTok.
my mum. I wish I could get my mum on TikTok. People would bloody love her.
Oh my God, there's so much content. I absolutely implore you to go on TikTok and type in Squarespace tips, and you will see an abundance of stuff.
That's my next question. So I'm sitting here while you're talking, 100% inspired. You know, Emily and I, we've been creating content for over a decade, different channels. But to be honest, we're still generalists, right? We know that. And we're quite happy being generalists other than having specific growth. Okay. So what was my point? I then thought, while you're talking, how many people are talking about Canva on TikTok? And there's loads, right? There's loads and loads, as well as Canva talking about TikTok. And we know you. We know Danielle. Danielle was at the Digital Circus Live the year before you, if you know Danielle.
Yes. Well, Danielle was one of my earliest people I watched, and she when I had quite a small following, about 10,000, she took a video I'd done, tutorial, changed it in her own way, but named me and said, inspired by Jules Design Your Pocket.
I like that.
That got me like 5,000 followers because she had a bigger audience at the time. She helped me get more followings. So
my question is, Canva, like, I'm going to use the word is oversaturated. Clearly it's not. I know the answer to this, right? But what's your take on there being 1 billion Canva accounts?
And do you know, and it's a big thing, is I do not believe any market is oversaturated.
I agree, but
it's literally because I am part of, as you guys are, you have your local networking groups as well, and I can be in a networking group with other graphic designers, and I love actually meeting other designers. I'm not threatened by them at all, because 1, their style is different, 2, their personalities are different, and I know people are either going to gravitate more towards me or they'll gravitate more towards that other person. I don't ever really look at the other creators, because I don't want to become obsessed with how they've done it and how they've edited it. I'd rather just create stuff my own way, and then if people like it, they'll follow me. I don't worry about what others are doing.
Yeah, we've always tried to aim to work like that. Once in a while you do find yourself checking out others, and then I regret it, because all I find myself doing is trying to replicate what they're doing.
You've already said it, Jules. No one can be you, right? You are, with a beautifully Scottish accent, you've got your beautiful hair, you've got your tone of voice, you've got the way you present yourself, and no one else can be that. That is purely you, and people will like you for that. So if anyone's watching some on replay, comes back down to that personal brand element of it. What is your personal brand and personality? And getting that personality across in what you're doing.
Because ultimately what you've got to think about is, if you do convert somebody into working with you, they already know what you're like, so you already have a better relationship with them from the very beginning. The amount of times I went on a Zoom call one-to-one with them, and they're like, oh my God, you're exactly like how you are on when I'm watching the videos. And so I'm thinking, right, that I'm getting it right, because if I am appearing the same way when they talk to me one-to-one as I do now in a mass audience, and don't get me wrong, sometimes I get quite kind of taken aback if somebody kind of recognizes me or says like in a network thing, oh my god, I watch videos all the time, see that one you did, and they actually name it, or say, see when your dog, how's your dog? I'm like, how do you know my dog? And you go,
Stalkers.
on socials. So it is a kind of funny situation when people actually do know you before they meet you.
We absolutely, even with our smaller following, we have the same thing. But the benefits being that pretty much when we're speaking to them, they've already decided they want to work with us. And sometimes they pay by the end of the day. It's amazing. You go, would you like to do that now? And they go, yes. And we go, send.
Yeah. I don't think I've ever had to go into a client discovery call and sell at them, because by the time they've like signed up and they've decided they're working with me, they're just doing the preliminary, hi, nice to meet you, let's what date I'm booking you in, which I like, because as an introvert I don't want to sell on a call to somebody face to face. I love the fact that they feel that they know me. I've built up the trust factor before they've even got in touch with me. So yeah, weirdly I had this conversation with a girl up here. There's a networking group called the Glasgow Girls group, and she has amassed, like, first of all, it started off as a Facebook group and she's built it into a whole community. There is a business like membership part of it as well, and I know her really well, and like that she's going, how do I start on TikTok, what do I talk about? There's so much in that, and it's weirdly the same thing. I went, building your community, how did you build that Facebook group, how did you turn it into a membership, how did you gain your collaborations, how did you like gain the members? There's actually so much you can talk about just on the building the community. Just say that's your skill, that's your magic know-how ingredient, is your ability to build a community.
We need to book a power hour, Jules.
Yes.
This has been invaluable, and I hope everyone who's watching on replay will think exactly the same there. I think what you've achieved in, let's face it, I mean, I appreciate it's been going on for a good few years now, but in a fairly short amount of time in terms of your growth is really, really, give yourself a round of applause about that. That's amazing. And also it's been really refreshing to see somebody doing it who, in the nicest way, is a normal regular business owner who we know and love. And I think we see so many people out there who are aspiring, and we don't know them from Adam, and they are, you know, out of reach really. But you are doing it for yourself. You've found a clear niche that you can roll with. You've got traction on it, and you're getting big. The great thing to hear from you is that you are actually getting paying clients from this approach as well.
How many followers before would you say you specifically could track a regular income from TikTok? And I'm not talking about like branding, monetize that. I'm talking about clients.
Actually quite quickly, and that's the thing, that hasn't changed. So once I kind of got to like 10,000 followers up to 150, the volume of clients hasn't changed, but I'd say the quality of the clients have remained really good that have came my way. And that's the thing, like for all the kind of viral, everyone wants to go viral, that doesn't bring you the work. The viral videos don't bring you the work. It's the ones that actually don't get seen or have that many views, but that might prompt that person to get in touch with you, is always the kind of smaller ones. So yeah,
love that. Did you have a final question? Was that it?
You too? That was just one.
No, I can't remember now what the other one was. I'm curious as to our take on it, but really, so we've got the podcast. I quite like the community building element of it. Would we, in your head, as we have hit 1 o'clock, would you start a new account, or would you keep the yellow tuxedo one and just kind of refine what goes on it?
So how many followers have you got on
it's dire.
Barely anything.
200 odd or something.
I would actually keep that one and just change your focus on what content you put out there.
So there's my last question. With the podcast, which fundamentally is you guys, which is part of the community, could we include that in the community element of it?
Absolutely. Yeah, actually the podcast, which involves your community, and then talking about how you build a community, and even the stories of, I've gone into people's backgrounds of how they joined, where they are. Like, I mean, I'm up in Glasgow, I'm miles away from you guys, but I found out about you and joined you through Instagram and then joined your community. So there's so many individual stories you can actually include and talk about. Mhm.
We need to get a big bit of paper and map it.
I know. Our challenge is finding that thing we want to talk about, and actually, because I don't want to talk about online visibility. Who cares, right? So, you know, but actually, the community element is people, and that we are interested in. So,
Yeah, and it's that elusive thing that people just don't quite know how to do. You know, and how everyone talks about build a community. How do you build a community? Like you actually have done it. So how did you do it? And how, and talk about maybe your journey and what it was exact in like short kind of tips and stuff. And you'll find there's more nuggets in there that'll come out.
Perfect.
Okay.
Jules, thank you very much for your time. It's been an amazing session. I really loved hearing your story today.
Jules, thank you so much. Genuinely loved it. Secretly pleased it was Bijou, because that means we got to ask lots of questions.
Exactly, it's perfect.
You
But
know,
honestly, if you just want a cup of tea and a conversation, I'm happy to just jump on a chat with you about it. So